Welcome to Grounded, Stories of Migrant Church Leaders in the Netherlands, a Nederlands Dagblad podcast where faith, culture, and community meets. I am your host, Samuel Eppo. In this series, we explore the inspiring stories of migrant pastors and church leaders in the Netherlands, where they find hope, purpose, and calling. Through their stories, we will hear faith taking roots in new soil, hope, resilience, and vision. In this podcast series, we have a wonderful guest. She is a Dutch citizen with a vibrant spirit. She was born and raised in Curaçao. She moved to the Netherlands 20 years ago. Her transformation story is also very captivating, and as a matter of fact, we are also blessed to have her. In this episode, Stories of Migrant Church Pastors in the Netherlands, Eunice shares faith and identity and purpose which intersects her journey and how God continues to use her life to connect people across cultures and generations. Eunice, you are welcome to this podcast.
Thank you very much for having me in this lovely program.
Thank you very much. Now, will you tell us, what was it like to move as a migrant pastor to the Netherlands? What were the challenges? What were your surprises when you came?
Well, I have to say, as you mentioned already in the introduction, I was born and raised on Curaçao. So I knew already the Dutch system. I knew the language, which of course is one of the main things that helps you to be able to settle well in a new country. Yet, things are different. I mean, the weather is different.
Yeah.
I was used to the whole year long summer, and now I have to adjust to having the winter, I have in the fall. So that was the first part for me personally I had to adjust to.
Right.
And I had to adjust also to going to church here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Because Curaçao is an island, small. Everything is, you could say, between the 50 minutes ride and you're there.
Right.
But in the Netherlands, I had to adjust to driving 1 hour to go to church.
Wow.
So then you have to make the decision to go to church. Of course, you can choose to go to church close by.
Yeah.
But what I learned throughout my journey is that follow the Lord, follow Jesus, is not always choosing the easiest and the easiest way to go. Let me put it that way. Sometimes He sends you to a specific location.
That's true.
And you have to be determined to fulfill that part of God's will for your own life.
That's right.
So that was for me one of the major challenges, the distances.
Oh, nice. So have you been able to overcome those challenges as you have stayed here in the Netherlands?
Yes and no. Why yes and no? Because at some point, God allowed me to be at the church closer to my home.
Right.
Yet again, He sent me a bit further away. And it was not that I decided to go further away again, but it was more that He indicated me through another believer that I was needed there. And not needed as only as a person, but more the knowledge, what God has put into me to be shared with them. So it was, again, for me, a journey of accepting my faith in the sense that the Lord is directing me.
That's right.
Let me go where He sends me.
That's right.
And then throughout everything that is taking place, you see and you experience and you realize that it is God who is sending you. And also He sends resources.
That's right.
And also gives you the time to do what He sends you to do. So that's the most blessed part of it.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. From your narrative, I see that migration comes with blessings because you move with your skills, you move with your spirituality, and also your experiences. But I realize that it's not always the same for some migrant pastors. What do you think could be some of the challenges that they are facing?
Now, certainly, indeed, the move to another country is not the same for everybody.
That's true.
It starts with the part of the language.
Yeah.
People who move from the Netherlands Antilles, the old Netherlands Antilles, like we used to say, Curaçao, Bonaire, Aruba, also actually in St. Martin, Saba, and Bonaire, we know the Dutch language already. It doesn't mean that you spoke it at home also, but at least you learned it at school.
Yeah.
So that gives you a bit of an advantage.
That's right.
What I can imagine is that people, Spanish-speaking people, coming from Latin America or even Spain itself, they do not speak Dutch. So you have that barrier. That is one. I have some Portuguese pastors as friends. They also struggle with the Dutch language. So that's also a barrier. And for English-speaking persons like you yourself, Samuel, Dutch is also another kind of a language.
That's
so
right.
you have to learn that. That is one part of it. You have also the aspect of the instances, as I mentioned. Some come from small countries, easy to do. Some come from large countries, but another infrastructure. So you have to get used to that also.
That's right.
What are the locations? Where are people already living that you want to call upon in terms of attracting them to church in order to provide more of Jesus to them?
That's right.
Because you have to go them where they are in first instance. Sometimes you can choose to go to another location, but you have to search well before you choose a definite place where you stay and where you are setting your church.
Okay.
I think that is one part. And a part that is for everybody a challenge is get used to the customs.
That's right.
The
customs here.
The customs in the country where you are relocating to.
All right.
Are you known with them? What do you know about them? I mean, in the Netherlands, like a simple example. For me, it's easy to see the Dutch breakfast. I grew up with it. What we say in Dutch, hagelslag op je brood.
Right.
I know I grew up with it.
That's
but
right.
I can imagine that for many pastors coming from abroad, when they see that, it's like, what do you do with sweet on your bread in the morning? So that's a simple example, an everyday example. And like that, there are many other things that you see that you have to get used to it. Get to know the environment well. And it starts step by step. I mean, it's not something that you do from one day to another. It may take years to get used to things in the new country.
Okay. Wow. Thank you very much. Because this podcast is geared towards migrant leaders and pastors in the Netherlands. And I think this is a good take for them to learn. And what do you think, from your own experience, is leadership in terms of migrant pastors heading churches here in the Netherlands? And also, how do they reconcile with their day-to-day life? Do you see any connection or any differences from your own experience?
Now, you put a lot of questions in one sentence, but I will talk. Let's start with the first part. What's the part of the leadership? What is leadership? I think it's important to realize that when we grow up in a certain culture.
Yes.
And every culture has its own way of defining and performing in practice leadership.
Yes.
That's something very important to acknowledge, not to dismiss, but yet to look also into the similarities and also the differences from where you grew up and where you're going to, what is seen and defined as leadership. I think that is the primary part to start with.
That's right.
Because the way we function in our cultures, and I mean especially in the global south, is way different than global north.
Right.
If you look at it in Europe especially, leadership is mainly based on lots of freedom. You delegate a lot of tasks to the persons, expecting that they will come back to you and report to you.
Yeah.
When you look at global south, you grow up there with more like in the part of I'm the leader.
That's right.
And I'm telling you what to do exactly. I mean, exactly to the point.
Yeah.
And expect you to do so. And I'm watching closely what you're doing. It has a lot to do with the culture, how things went on in the past.
That's true.
And then when you move from then the global south to the global north, here people expect more freedom. In the sense of, you tell me you want something to be done.
Yes.
And then I will make sure it will be done, but sometimes in my own terms. And then you have to allow them the space to do so also, because in there is also growth.
That's right.
And when will you do the one and when do you apply the other?
Yeah.
That is about knowing the people you're working with.
That's right.
And it is a journey. It's not like the one is good and the other is totally bad.
Yeah.
It's a journey. It's looking for balance. I think
right.
that's the main aspect of when you look at leadership. I mean, I worked in the Caribbean. I worked here in the Netherlands. You see the difference. And it has everything to do also with the culture, the ambience, the things you do.
Yeah.
And so the second part of your question, what was that again?
How do they see the difference or similarities? But I think you have addressed it. And I would just want to narrow down, because you said it's a journey. And one of the journeys is that they need to take up theological education.
I think so.
And we realize that some of the pastors are not necessarily theologian, or they don't have access to this theological education. So my question is that what is the added value of the migrant church pastors to follow theological courses?
Very good question. I think, let me start this way. I did not start as a theologian. It's later on that I also follow theology courses. So I'm one of the examples of people being raised up professionally in the business sector,
Right.
who got called into the ministry.
Yeah.
And I have seen in the last couple of years that many persons, a lot of persons, have seen and followed the same course.
Right.
The call of the Lord on their lives being more and more present,
Yeah.
and to bring the value what they have into the ministry. What we also see, and it's also biblical, very biblical,
Yes.
that many people start a ministry from scratch. Not specifically, I'm talking about professionals, but they woke up one day and they see and they feel the call of the Lord, and they start, and you see signs and wonders, a lot of things happening in their lives.
That's true.
And that you can compare it with the lives of the first disciples of Jesus that in the Bible we read also in the book of Acts, that the Pharisees and Sadducees saw them perform signs and wonders, but they knew they were uneducated.
That's true.
The added value when you are uneducated, in a sense, is that you are so open to what the Lord wants to do, that you do not put barriers of rationality to it. That's a fact, because you are so open to it.
That's right. Yeah.
On the other hand, I think it's very important also to have balance.
That's true.
You need balance. Not everything is only the signs of wonders of the Lord. The Lord is a Lord of order.
That's right.
And that is what a theology course also helps to bring to a pastor. The balance between the word, the balance to look into what do I know already, what have I experienced already, but also listen to others, learn from them,
right,
and look into what the Lord wants us to do in terms of working together. Because if you stay aside alone, it's easy to say the Lord is using me in a marvelous way, but he's not using others, but I will stay away from them. But then the question would be, is that truly what the Lord wants?
Wow.
He gave each and every one of us a portion, and I think that's the important aspect to consider in this term.
That's right.
So courses are very necessary, especially when you look at Europe, in terms of Europe is a continent of knowledge.
That's true. Yep.
People study a lot.
Yep.
Does it mean it is bad? No.
No.
But they also have to look for the balance, the other end up. So you look, when I personally, from a personal experience, what I have seen, and I would consider is that migrant pastors should look into what are the courses I can follow, looking for the balance. Not lose what you have, but balance it.
That's right.
And from the, let me say, the spiritual leaders born and raised in Europe continent, look into where have I gone too much into the learning, the rationality, and where should I give the Lord more space to move? Learn from the migrant leaders in that sense.
Wow, this is so impressive. Thank you very much. And I realize migrant churches are very vibrant, and that is where the balance comes. So my next question would be, what do migrant pastors bring to the Netherlands that maybe the Dutch churches should certainly not lose?
Certainly what the migrant pastors bring to the Netherlands is the part of being open for the move of the Holy Spirit. When you look at it, Europe is in the continent, as I said already, much learning, much knowledge, much scrutinizing the scriptures.
Yes.
But at some point, we as human beings, not the Lord, we as human beings tend to think that we know everything and that we have to have everything under our own control.
Yeah.
But the moment you reach that point, it means that there is no space for the Holy Spirit to move. Because God does things in ways that we cannot imagine.
That's true.
We do not expect. And at times, I have experienced myself, you think it's crazy. That's simply the Lord. But the Word tells us that too, that our knowledge is very limited.
That's true.
And the knowledge of the Lord surpasses our own understanding.
Yes.
So you have to be open to that. But when you are an intellectual, and I kind of say I'm guilty of that too, in a sense that I studied. I mean, I studied I have one of the professions I think that people would consider one of the most rational one. I started auditing.
Yeah.
So for me, at some point working, it was truly 1 + 1 is 2, and there is no deviation from that.
Yes.
But the Lord allowed me, and actually pulled me, I have to say, to learn, because in one part it wasn't fully voluntarily. I had to submit to the will of the Lord in a very profound way.
Yeah.
In order to learn that with the Lord, following Christ means that 1 + 1 can be anything.
Wow.
Not only 2. But in the realm of the Spirit, 1 + 1 can be anything the Lord proposed for it to become. But then you have to be open for that.
That's flexibility.
That's totally flexibility, but that's also denying yourself, denying your own understanding at some point, and being open to, become like Paul. Because Paul had all understanding.
Yes.
He had a great position when you look at it, from where he came. He was a knowledgeable man.
Absolutely.
Yet, he learned to recognize that the Lord is more than he had expected.
Wow.
And it was in a profound way that he got a turnaround, of course. And I don't hope to have a turnaround like that, even though my own story is a remarkable one, I have to admit.
Yes.
Somebody told me that this week. Realize that your own story is a very remarkable one. I'm like, yes. But the Lord, that has to do with the Lord. How open are we to allow him to use us in a way that we do not even understand? Yet how open are we to walk that path that he is laying out in front of us, where we don't know where the next stone will be to step on.
That's right.
You don't know if there's a stream of water coming and wants to push you down.
Yeah.
You don't know if there is a hole where you can step into and never come out of it again without any help. You don't know.
Okay.
But you have to move further. I think that is something all migrant pastors have in common.
Oh, I could recognize that.
Because you moved from your own country.
I can recognize that.
And you came to the Netherlands.
Yes.
Not knowing everything,
That's
but trusting in the Lord.
Yeah. Okay, because of the time, I would like to ask one more question and we can wrap up. Now, because this is a different context, the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Now, what can we as migrant pastors and migrant church leaders also learn from our Dutch counterparts, Dutch churches? Because that's where the whole cooperation starts from.
Indeed. Cooperation is very important. And I think one of the things that migrant pastors can learn from Dutch churches is going to the point of the balance.
That's true.
And also planning. One of the main benefits of being in Europe is you are in a culture that is about planning, 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 and more planning.
That's true.
Planning is not something bad.
No.
Yet you have to remain open for the whole move of the Spirit.
Yes.
I say always personally, plan everything well. To the minimum item in an agenda, in a program. Yet, when the Lord knocks on the door, you say, Lord, change what you want to change.
Wow.
But plan beforehand. And I think that's one of the things that we can learn mainly from the Dutch churches.
Yes.
Also, especially also in the sense of how do we approach each other.
That's right.
Staying open to hear, listen. I mean,
Yeah.
not only hear, but listen
Yeah.
to what every side has to bring into a conversation,
Yes.
and strive to become best in what you do. Not just to be a minimum and, but try to become the best in what you do. Of course, always within the back of your head, the
Yeah.
Lord is the one in the lead. So I think it's important in there also from the Dutch churches to collaborate with migrant churches, not expecting the migrant churches to be assimilated totally.
Yes.
Because I think it's very nice to have different cultures, different colors, different ways of
Yes.
worshiping the Lord,
Right.
different ways of bringing the word, different ways of approaching the heart. Is very important because you remain true to what you, where you were brought up, what is in us, what the Lord put in us. We will never lose that. But
Absolutely.
it's how you cultivate it and how you work with it and how you share it.
Wow.
I think that is important from
Yeah.
both sides.
Yeah.
So I think there are more things to be said about what can migrant churches learn from the Dutch churches.
right. That's
but I
right.
want to keep it to the first part, help each other in the planning.
Help each other in the planning. And my take-home word is try to be the best.
Amen.
Wow. Thank you so very much, Pastor Eunice, for this wonderful rendition. To our dear listeners, I just want to encourage you, try to be the best. So till we come your way next time, thank you for listening. Bye-bye.